Hey, everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George-Affleck.
And it is time for
Bork, bork. Unspun. It's a little Muppets Swedish Chef. I'm bringing it. We're going worldwide now.
Let's start at the top. Sweden in NATO. Sweden in.
I lived in Sweden for a while, and I was married to a Swede for 20 years and lived in Denmark. Very familiar with the Scandinavian attitude towards getting involved. In Denmark, very committed. Sweden, always being neutral, always being very cautious about getting too involved. They kind of wanted to have their cake and eat it too. So this decision, their willingness to go into NATO is a really big deal for them. I think if you live in Sweden and you know that, I know a lot of Swedes, and this is a big deal because they take pride in their neutrality. So it's just interesting that sort of has happened now.
Yeah, Sweden's kind of like what people used to say when using Switzerland. I'm going to be Switzerland.
Yeah.
But Sweden does have a very long border.
Yes.
They're shared with
Finland, and then the north with us, up the North Pole, all the way up there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reason for Finland and Sweden and Norway, and that whole upper corner of Scandinavia, that corner that is very tightly knit to, because Putin is marching through. Oh my gosh, I feel so terrible for all of there's so much upheaval in the world. Let me just preface this by saying we feel terrible on many, many, many fronts right now, and the suffering that is happening globally, that we could spend hours and not touch on all of it. But when we look at what's happening in Ukraine, as we just passed the 2-year mark of this invasion, this Russian war on Ukraine, and now we see that Ukrainian soldiers are running out of supplies, and Putin is just, doubling down, and it's just,
and they're waiting
horrifying
for the funding from America.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
Waiting. I mean, the fact that this issue in Ukraine, and there's this lack of understanding of how crucial this war is in Ukraine to all of us. I don't understand how Americans can't see it. How how the politicization of this very important issue, that this guy is gonna, it's just, we talked about this a few weeks ago, how it was very similar to the 1930s and Hitler, and how they took in, and Americans refused to get involved. When
everybody was like, it'll be fine, he'll just take that little area that doesn't bother us. But
that's right,
they're coming for them, and then they're coming for you, and then they're coming for me. That's the thing. And Mitch 100%. McConnell here being just announcing yesterday that he is not going to be the Senate Majority Leader for the Republicans after this term ends. And there are a lot of people going, woo, great. Okay. You think somebody less extreme is going to replace McConnell? I highly doubt it. Exactly. I highly doubt it. I think it's thought this so was broken. Bad. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's come closer to home here, because the story that came out via FOI, Freedom of Information, it has been discovered that there was a scientist, a woman and her husband, who worked highest security level in, this isn't going to cause any conspiracy theories, right, George? They're biochemists who, it has now been discovered, had been released from their positions because of ties to the Chinese government.
This is not good. This makes you, I have people who work in CSIS, and they tell me stuff, and not as much as they'd like to, probably, or I'd like them to tell me. Right. But they're the amount of information, that spies are everywhere, and
sure.
But there's also this weird,
and we have spies everywhere too.
Yeah,
so
we
thinking
have
like
everywhere.
We're just sitting here being good people, and people are spying on us is garbage. No, everybody's spying on everybody.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but then there's also the whole theory of how good our spies are. There's a conversation you have about, how spying is only about as good as you're good, almost like guessing about things. Sometimes you kind of just investigate, but you can't actually get caught. So, but these guys got caught, and we kind of knew this a while ago when it happened. There were stories about this, but this was actually releases. These people were actually meeting and sharing information. This is bad. This is really bad.
And the woman, and I wish I had her name in front of me. I don't. I'm sorry. She was an instrumental part of the team that created and was successful in creating an Ebola vaccine for Canada. So, this isn't just like a figurehead person administratively, like this is in deep and strategic, and that's going to just light a fire under the conspiracy theorists around vaccination and science. And anyway,
What's
that's a
scary?
really it disappoints me to the same degree that somebody as high level in the RCMP was also discovered as a spy. Who
Yeah,
this isn't a racial or even immigration issue here. This is crappy that people are spying at these levels and puts us all in danger. I think
yeah,
that's
and we do the guy. Yeah, that guy was convicted and all that. These people, we don't know. What you
don't
don't know
know.
in the spy world is why they were doing it, because
Right?
they
They could have
might have
been
been.
forced.
Of course, they probably were forced.
Yeah, maybe had
Who
their
knows what kind
families
of?
with you better
Mhm.
do this, you better tell us,
It's
because
like the
that's
mafia,
very
right?
much the way it's done. Very
Yeah.
much the way it's done.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk a little bit before we come back local. I mean, what's going on with Donald Trump again? Like, I just can't get away from this guy. So in the documents case, the Jack Smith case, it was like, should he have immunity? Did he declassify? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is, like, Joe Biden's got an impeachment trial ongoing here for when it was discovered he had documents. He immediately said,
Hmm.
here, have them back. I didn't know I had them. Here you go. And then in Donald Trump's case, he's like, no, you can't have them back. And I kept them, and I kept them on purpose, and I've showed them to people. Very different. So the people that want to come at us and tell us that, well, you don't care if it's happening with Biden. But that case, the documents case, the high level nuclear information that is allegedly a part of these, and Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, this delay tactic and pushback and try and wind it through the courts, and who's the justice and when will it be heard, and da da da. Well, it's now this, he should have immunity from this, is the argument. And now the Supreme Court of the United States has decided to hear this case and open it up, which every pundit on US cable news right now is saying there's really no reason for them to hear this case other than it will delay it. So it makes the Supreme Court of the United States look like they're helping.
Political.
Yeah, but I mean, oh God, okay. Okay. And at
I
the
mean,
same time,
his argument is Trump's like, well, I was told that it was okay to do this, and so therefore it's okay to do it. I mean, and so you could argue, well, who told you that? It's
right.
not, but no, well, I was told that, so therefore I'm immune.
He was told a lot of things. They said to
Yeah,
me, sir, okay,
he's told by the people he
sure.
told to tell him.
Okay, can we come back local now? Because we could talk about that all day long and
Mm.
twice on Sundays. But we got some good news, some bad news, and some eye rolling when it comes to the Vancouver Park Board. And we can't do an unspun podcast without talking about the Park Board, George.
But we have some good news today,
Let's
at
start
least a
there.
little bit. We can say we're finally park board's doing something that we like, which is they put an RFP out to do something in Queen Elizabeth Park. A few years ago, when I think when John Cooper was the chair of the park board, he brought in a zip line, I think one year, and then a
That was
Ferris
fun.
wheel the next year.
That was fun.
Super popular, really fun, great for the families. Really, he made up. You go to the top of Queen Elizabeth Park. It's a parking lot up there. It's really
Nothing.
not, and of course there's the the Bloedel
Fountain.
Conservatory and a restaurant, but it really brought a lot of people that probably wouldn't have gone up there, and therefore helped the Bloedel Conservatory, helped the restaurant, helped the beautiful park. People walked
Yeah.
around, see the gardens, all those things. But you need an attraction, and all the other parks in the city do this. They're the P&E, the or Stanley Park, they all hold events of some form, but there is this reason that Queen Elizabeth Park should not do this. Bullshit. Like, come on, this is a great venue. It's top of the city, highest part of the city.
Gorgeous spot. As
If you
kids,
did
we
the
would
zip
go up
line
there
or
to
you
the
did that,
Rose.
it's amazing.
We'd go to the Rose Garden. We go to the observatory,
Mhm.
observatory, Bloedel Conservatory, and honestly, we would play in the fountain. So when they talk about getting rid of the water features, like on a hot summer day, my grandmother would get us on the bus, and we would walk that last way up there, and we would literally play around that fountain all day,
I
all
know. I
day.
hate it when I see signs that say you can't play in the
Oh
fountains. Come
God,
on, it's fresh
please,
water. It's not
please.
chlorinated or anything. It's just fresh water.
It's a
It's fine.
hoot. It's fun.
Let the
It's a
kids
splash
have it.
pad. You don't even need to build me a splash pad. We could have
No.
just play. We did just play in it, and it was just fine. And I do like the idea of having some of those attractions. I'd like to see Seafest come back. I'd like to see the bathtub races be a no-brainer every year on a certain date. I'd like to see, the salmon barbecue down at the beach. do the things that we used to do that were
Bring
super
your own,
fun.
bring your own wine. What a
Bring your own
concept. Hey.
wine. Bring your blanket. We're not doing chairs. It's not going to be roped off. There's not going to be any orange fencing. Nobody needs to be taking a ticket. There doesn't. Just come to the beach. Just come and hang out. But apparently, here's the bad news.
We had some good news, everybody. We did. We gave you. We started with the positive. Maybe we should have ended with the positive.
Maybe we should have. Maybe I should have given you the bad news up
Well,
front. Well, the good news, there's good news
there.
embedded in the bad news because it looks like they might walk it back. But get this, George, the park board has decided that they're going to start sports leagues. Van sport.
Oh no.
Why is the park board starting a sport league, you ask? I do not know the answer to that question, but apparently it is on the verge of booting out one of the longest standing things pretty much my entire adult life. Without fail, you go by Spanish Banks and you will see beach volleyball ongoing. The courts are there. The people are having a great time. It's organized. It's beautiful. It is so well done. And that beautiful community event that has thousands of people who can count on being a part of it, learn the game, take part, beginner, super novice, beginner, intermediate, or really, really great, that leads up to the Jose Cuervo or whatever they call it now, the Van Open that's held down there, which is so much fun. Like, it pisses me off.
Is this a moneymaker? What is this? What is this about? Why are they doing this?
They're going to make it so the permit is more money, and then the Van Open people can't do that. And it's bureaucracy. And it is, if ever the park board was not reading the room, this is an example of it. Take care of the parks, fix the tree problem, mow the lawn, get the mulch down, plant the flowers, take care of the bug problems. End of. Do not start a sports league. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That classic line. Right. I'm here from the government. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. It's like, no, we don't need your help on this one. We're fine. We're fine. Thanks very much. You just keep doing. Go cut the grass over there in that lane over there. Go do that. Go save some trees as opposed to cutting them down.
Fix the water feature instead.
Fix the water feature.
Lost Lagoon. Fix Lost Lagoon.
There you go. There's a project.
You just got more money. Yeah, we should give them a list.
I think
honestly, come on. Anyways, they got more money for the tree removal in Stanley Park. I wonder how much less money would have been spent had the park board actually done what they were supposed to do 3, 4, 5 years ago.
20 years.
Right. But when the bug problem really started, when they figured out that the looper moth was here and it's an issue, had it been dealt with early days, we wouldn't be pulling 150,000 trees out of Stanley Park. It's going to look like a row of toothpicks by the time they're done.
Have you driven down to the Lionsgate Bridge? It's significant.
It is
significant. It's very, very hollow down there now, and it's sad. It's sad, and it is basically mismanagement over several years, and terrible. It's literally visually, it's a metaphor. Their incompetence. This is like an analogy. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, this is an example of how incompetent they have been for so long. But let's keep them.
So where are the people who have been, banging the gavel saying the park board is an institution democrat? Where are the people that are like, look how great everything is? Where are they now? They seem like crickets.
Well, they're focused on. They seem to be focused on the city of Vancouver, and ABC is a political entity more than anything now. They're going after ABC, and that's what you and I have talked about. This is park board was the problem, and Ken Sim, the mayor's solution at ABC to remove the park board. It's a solution for sure of the problem, but the political damage that he may take, which we kind of said is probably going to happen. Is happening. They're now out to get him. And when somebody's out to get you in politics, it's really hard to do your job because you're continually in defense mode. No politician wants to be in the defensive mode. Even this early out into your campaign, you got 2 years left, 2.5 years left. But if you're stepping back, trying to stop people from attacking you all the time, and everybody's watching you and trying to find dirt on you, as opposed to just sitting there going, hey, they're doing a good job. Let's go do something else. When you've got everybody at you, that's not a good way to administer. So it makes it really hard to administer and do the stuff you want to do when you're being attacked. So they've really created a hornet's nest here of a nightmare for them. that it's not going to go away. And even if you, as you and I, which are seem to be the only people besides ABC People Party speaking in favor of the concept that this is probably a good solution, we get a lot of heat for that. It's still something. I don't know if I would have done it if I was mayor. I would have said, I think this is the political damage worth it for this. Let's focus on fixing this. And we don't even know if he'll be able to get what he wants. And so, is it worth all of this? It's interesting.
That remains to be seen. It would have been perhaps a better tack to have had his supermajority of park board ABC members that he, as mayor, would have been able to bring into the fold and say, this is our new mandate that we should all agree upon, that the priorities be, because that is what Ken Sim ran on, is that we are going to be common sense. We're going to look at what the problems are, and then we're going to go through the budget line by line and, sort what
and then
needs to
increase
be
it.
sort. I mean, I kind of understood what he said when he's like, we kind of inherited the house with a whole bunch of leaky roof and whatever. Like, okay. I mean, but then it's another increase, and we're sending 3 people to the Junos in Halifax on tax dollars.
Oh my God.
Like that doesn't, what the hell?
I know there is this arrogance that it seems to be already permeating the party in power in Vancouver. And usually that takes 2 terms. I think I talked about this already, but Mike Klassen, who got in a lot of trouble last week for submitting to get $3,000 to go get tickets to Junos in Halifax to stay at a hotel, $300 a day per diem. Well, he backtracked. He flip-flopped on that one. I mean, I'm friends with Mike.
What did he say?
He didn't say anything. I forget. I think it was Mike Howell tried to ask him, and I gotta get to a meeting. Mike Klassen, I mean, he's a friend, but he's got to take the heat on this. He used to have this thing called City Caucus. So for those who follow politics, very provocative online publication that he and Daniel Fontaine, who's now a city councillor in New Westminster, started as a way to create an opposition against Vision Vancouver at that time, who basically were in the same situation as ABC is now, had the super majorities, majorities on all 3 levels. So they created the City Caucus. It was very, very effective in punching in and poking at Vision. It dismantled, I think, at the end of the first term of Vision, maybe early in the second term. But if Mike was if this was not Mike and it was somebody else within Vision, he would have gone to town on this issue forever and used this as a perfect example of, and here he is, of all the people. I'm really disappointed that he would think that he should do this. I just feel like you put yourself as the person that was about transparency and about government waste, as a guy that was like certainly in line with me on a lot of those issues when he was not in office. To do this kind of thing is I'm confused at how naive Mike could be to do this. Why would he do this to himself, to damage himself, except for pure arrogance? I think that is permeating this government, and park board being one of those issues. And that is your undoing in politics. Arrogance, people won't put up with that. They won't put up with arrogance. Not when we're easy way to lose.
When we are being told to tighten our belts in the name of the greater good, to have extraneous expenses like sending a city councillor, the mayor, and a staffer, I believe was the plan, to Halifax to the tune of, how much was it? 10 grand?
Up
more?
to $10,000, I think it was.
$10,000 for their 3-day trip. And then they broke it down. And the thing, we talked about this last week, but just if you missed last week's episode, that's what we're talking about here. Do we really need to send 3 people to the Junos in Halifax so they can, quote unquote, see what kind of activations are happening around this event in preparation of the Junos coming here? And then when you look through their expenses, they were actually buying tickets to the Junos, which is like, you're not even doing this through the Junos? Like, I'm like, who's in your communications department? How is that not, I mean, what? And the cost of, then there's per diem and so it's like, okay, maybe I want to cut slack to people. Like, I want to think the best of them. And as we've said before, Mike's a good person. It's not like he's a bad guy, but like you said, he would have gone after this had somebody else on the other side of the political spectrum, perhaps, was doing this. He would have taken a good bite for quite a while on this. Where is it? And he should, I think he should speak to this. Was it I didn't realize the boundary of what I should or should not do? Did I overstepped, I've learned my lesson or whatever, but to say I can't, I don't have time, I have a meeting, when you do have something to say, you go on and on. So the spin is real here. And you and I do this podcast to bring some humanity to it. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt to say, you know what? Yeah, I said it out loud a bunch. I was excited about it. As I said last week, if somebody said, hey, you want to go to the Junos and check out what's happening there to see if we can get any ideas to bring it here, I'd be like, yes, I do. Are you going to give me a plane ticket and get me there and put me up there? Yes, we will. Okay, great. I will assume that I can do that on a day of work. I won't have to take a vacation day to do that. Great. Look at my thumbs up again. If you're watching on video, I can't turn off my reactions. But you know what I mean? Like for it to be like a cushy, expenses paid kind of situation. Come on.
You got to use your stories sparingly in politics. Gregor Robertson pulled off the election win in 2014 by apologizing to the electorate, saying, "I'm sorry, I won't do it again." Worked. It worked. He beat Kirk LaPointe and left me again in opposition for another 4 years. But and it was because he apologized. But you got to be careful in politics, because if you apologize too much, you look weak.
Right.
So and that's
but
where Mike's
nobody
coming from.
apologizes these days, George. Like the apology that you're referencing was back there, right?
I think you can apologize, but you don't have to say the word sorry. That's the key.
You can find a way of saying that won't happen again.
I listened to the people of Vancouver. I listened to people, and I thought there was a good reasons to go. And here's why I thought this. There's this, and this.
Yeah.
But after reflection, and obviously people, and hey, it's time to tighten our belts. I'm joining you in that. I'm going to tighten my belt. And now for the next 2.5 years, Mike better be the least spending city councillor on council to be able to. If I was Mike Howell, I'd be looking at those expense reports like a hawk. Mike Howell, who writes for a long time reporter for the city of first the Courier, now it's become Vancouver's Awesome. He loved doing the expense reports, and he also loved doing stories on when I was in office about where you invest your money in.
Yeah, those guys love
about the weird stocks that people have.
Digging into the intel. I want to talk about one thing that you had sent me about the ArriveCan app. Was it you that sent me that? Like they're now suspending.
This goes back to the China thing too, like those spies. What the hell is going on? Yeah, these two people, or this guy, he was a government worker, and he owned the company that got that ridiculous
$7.9 million
for an app that was the worst app in the world, that probably cost $5 to build.
But still, good for you.
And he turns out works for the government. Like what? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a rule about that.
Yeah.
Federal government's really strict about that kind of stuff. Really, really strict. So, you do an RFP and stuff. It's like you gotta tick a lot of boxes to get away with.
But that's the interesting part, George, is I think that we're just now discovering that the assumption of strictness, the assumption of due diligence, that like there's so much that you're like, oh, I'm assuming that's getting done. I think everybody thinks somebody else is doing it. Like, how is the Nazi war criminal the guest when the president of Ukraine is in the House of Commons? Like, huh? And the answer to that was, whoops. And then now it's like,
didn't Google him.
Did anybody, right? But it's like, did anybody do a security check on this guy that supplied us with the app that we all had to put our information into in order to move outside of our province? Like,
it's interesting. I don't understand. Like when you run for office, generally you have to export your entire Twitter history, your entire Facebook history. You have the whole process. You do this when you run for office, and then you send it to them, and they go through it all. They read all the stuff, and they search terms. They look through all your history to see if you said anything dumb. And I don't understand how these kinds of things aren't happening. And the federal government, it's unlike the provincial and municipal. They have really, really, really strict. I mean, I've looked at RFPs for the federal government. It's like, holy, they're just like so complicated. And so there is something shifty going on here for sure. And this guy has been put on temporary leave, and they're doing an investigation now. And he was subcontracting to an Aboriginal organization who were. It's all super. So he could put them. Now that's opened up a whole thing about subcontracting and taking advantage of organizations that are in order to take a box on the documents. I mean, there's always work. This is the thing in when you talk about bureaucracy, and we talk a lot about bureaucracy on the show. And the problem with bureaucracy, creating new taxes, creating all these different things, people who are dishonest will often can and usually do find ways around these things. There's always ways around these things that are meant to be, that intentionally are meant to be good, but the people that you're trying to stop doing something are usually the ones that find the workarounds. And so that's what for me, I'm more of a libertarian when it comes to bureaucracy. Like, stop putting rules in place, because it doesn't stop. It just makes I just have to fill up my stupid provincial empty homes tax bullshit. Like, that thing is ridiculous. I mean, why am I filling this out? I live here and I live in my home. Why am I having to fill this twice? The same way
when you totally know that your next door neighbor doesn't live there and probably filled out the same form and checked the box and it'll never get checked. Of course.
Like, if you're dishonest, you're dishonest. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah. The
honest people are just sitting there,
okay,
this is going to take me a half an hour of my life, whatever.
Going back to your,
totally, the information on there is so shifty as far as what they're asking. It's a total,
dig fest. Dig fest. Well, it goes back to the, why can't we just meet at the beach with our own wine? Oh, no. Well, all the people there would just be, everybody be drunk and breaking stuff. Guess what? The people who are drunk and breaking stuff are not going to follow the rules anyway. So you're actually just punishing the people who would do the right thing. So how about you go and catch the bad guys?
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's easier to say, we're going to do this. And we're only going to do it in places where our friends don't have their vacation homes. That's the part that punctuates it.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Exactly. Wherever, strangely, where there's NDP ridings, there's no rules, and where there are Liberal, but BC United ridings, they have rules.
Can we leave off with that? Because I want to we got 3 minutes here, but looking ahead to the November provincial election and the whole, because there's such an online debate right now, if BC United and the BC Conservative Party could get themselves aligned to work as a cohesive group, they could take on the NDP. And others are saying there's no way in hell the NDP are losing. This far out, are you making predictions now? What do you see now?
I think the BC United would win if they were united with the Conservatives. I think they would win them, if not a majority, a minority, because I think they could take the Valley back. They certainly would take the interior, and they wouldn't lose ground in Vancouver. There's not much left for them to have. They've only got 2 seats here, I think. So, I mean, they have a lot of opportunity in Surrey to win back that. I think the NDP and this whole police issue could be perceived as a botched thing by the NDP. And even though you may or may not agree with that, it doesn't matter. It's politics. It's, this is any time where there's chaos, it's an opportunity. So, but I think this is a split situation. And that then therefore provides the NDP with an easy win, and not even an easy win, massive win. We're talking, 75% or 80% of the seats. Massive. You're going to places like Williams Lake, where the BC Liberal, now BC United, I think Lauren Dirksen, a friend of mine, won. I think he won by 2,000, like 2,000, like nothing. And there's a Green Party running. There's going to be a BC United, BC Conservative, NDP. Of course, the NDP person who came in second last time is going to win because they don't have any competition. Now there's going to be a BC Conservative and a BC United splitting the right. 2,000 votes left, there to win. It's an easy win, and that's Williams Lake. That's just one riding. There are a lot of ridings like that. It's not like there's always this massive majority one way or the other. It's kind of like America, right? We have pretty much a 50-50% split in the population, but where we stand politically on the spectrum. And so it's easy to flip a riding, lots of ridings with a right mix. And if you have a split on the right or a split on the left, that's why propping up the Green Party was good for the BC Liberals at the time, because it split a lot of ridings where NDP would have potentially won and lost because of the Green Party, even a few votes. So neither of them win, and you win. It's the key in politics. When you're running a campaign, you don't look at the whole picture. You literally look at every single riding and do the math on it, and you
Right.
figure out what's the opportunity here. Okay, there's a Green Party, and this actually happens where there's funding that comes from other people to the other parties. It's all very mysterious, a lot of the stuff.
Death
but
by 1,000 cuts.
yeah, no, so it's going to be an interesting time, and I just think that whether or not the BC United and the BC Conservatives can get it together, we'll see. But I think it's time's running out.
Well, the
Running
region,
out.
the olive branch wasn't well received.
No, you said
Apparently.
that. Yeah, last week.
Apparently that was like,
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to keep asking you that question every Thursday when we do Unspun Podcast. Unspunpodcast.com is where you find George and I every Thursday, where we just talk about stuff. And every time George says bullshit, we get an E for explicit. E for explicit, not exploited. We didn't even get to talk about sextortion and harassment and online hate and the new legislation,
you'll
Bill
have some news maybe on
C-63.
that next week.
Yeah. I'll have
Okay.
some. I actually just did an interview on Canada Land with Tristan over there because they want to update. So there's your teaser at George
_
Affleck, at George _Affleck on Twitter, at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, at Jody Vance. I'm not sure if you can see R2D2 over here, but I have a new piece of
he's glowing, is he?
Star Wars. Yes.
Why? Are you a Star Wars thing?
I love Star Wars, and Derek Wong, my producer friend at Czech at Oh Boy Studios, he went to Comic-Con, and I gave him some money to spend on my behalf, and
it looks like a hologram. For those who are listening, it looks kind of like a hologram.
It does look
it's
like
pretty
a
cool.
hologram. It's nice, and it goes different colors here. Oh. There you go. Now everybody's going to run to unspunpodcast.com to see this. That's where you find us. Follow along on our social media and like and subscribe. Peace out, George.
Bye.